welcome everybody to the second episode of the Ear to the Canvas podcast. I am your host, Ryan Truland. Before we get into anything today, would like to thank everybody who tuned in to the first episode of the podcast. I really appreciate all the support. Before we get into anything today, I just want to share a quick story with all of you, related to fighting, related to mixed martial arts. The year was 2014 or 2015. I had just graduated high school, going to community college at the time. My brother, John, who's 4 years younger than I am, so he must have been, 13 or 14. He started going to jiu-jitsu classes at Ocean County BJJ. A lot of local guys who are listening to this might recognize that gym. It's a great gym. Tom DeBlas is the owner. Tom is a phenomenal guy and a great coach. So John, my brother John, started training there. He had been going a few weeks and been coming home, showing me a few things that he learned. And I was already a fan of watching the UFC at the time. So I saw what John was doing, and I asked my parents if I could start going to class. So they said yes. I start going. First night that I go. Great class. Tom and everybody who was involved welcomed me in right away. I was right alongside my brother John. My dad was going at the time. Tom actually really liked my dad because my dad was older at the time. He was probably around 66, and he was going to the cross training that was right next door, still owned by the BJJ gym, I think. And so he was going to cross training a few times a week, and Tom was really, proud of my dad for training at such a late age. But anyway, so the first class is over. After class, they have open rolling. It's an open mat where guys can just roll with each other, get better, try and submit each other, and just learn. It's probably one of the best ways of getting better is just open rolling. It's the best way to try everything that you learn in the class. So anyway, John might have had a stripe at this point. I definitely didn't have a stripe. It was my first class. So me and John start messing around after class. So we're going, we're rolling. Tom and the coaches are like in the back. They're not necessarily paying attention to everything that's going on. Just class is over. So I get John's back. Mind you, it's not technical the way I got his back, but I got it. Probably had something to do with me being 4 years older than him. So I get his back, and I walk in the rear naked choke, something I've seen on the UFC. And Tom DeBlas notices. He didn't even yell, because I don't think he has like a mean mo in his body, but he mean mugged both of us, and he told in a stern way for that people with, I think it's 2 stripes you gotta have if you want to roll. Definitely can't be your first class, because injuries will happen, and that's a liability for the gym. So me and John, my first class, I get him in a rear naked choke, and Tom DeBlas sternly mean mugs us and tells us to get off the mat, and that was that. We went home. I continued going to class though. Unfortunately, I didn't stick with it. Neither did John, but I thought that was a funny story. I don't know if other gyms are like that you can't roll right away. I didn't know, but yeah, Tom DeBlas's place is great. He's a great guy. That's why he didn't yell at us. He knew that it was my first class, and I would have been scared. I was already scared. But anyway, all right, let's get into the podcast. You can find Ear to the Canvas right now on YouTube. Just search Ear to the Canvas. If you like what you hear, please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And when you subscribe, hit the alarm button, because then you'll get a notification every time there's a new podcast. Otherwise, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Just search Ryan Truland. A lot of stuff going on. There's a lot. I ate my words after that first podcast about Dana White possibly putting out that UFC 250 card the way it was, charging us for it. Well, he added some fights. It's still not the best card. Neither is the May 30th card, but they're definitely watchable. Definitely got to tune in. Let's start with the card that's coming up on May 30th. Main event is a great one. Probably my favorite main event since the UFC's return, except for the Ferguson-Gaethje fight. This is a great one. Tyron Woodley versus Gilbert Burns at welterweight. Tyron Woodley is one of the best welterweights of all time. Gilbert Burns is a real threat in that division coming up. Brazilian fighter. Good all around. He's got power. He's very good on the ground. And that's just going to be a great fight. It's hard to bet against Woodley. Besides that performance against Usman, when is he really... He doesn't fail to perform. He gets wins. Usman broke him in that fight, though. He wasn't ready for what Usman brought to that fight. I don't think Gilbert Burns is Kamaru Usman. That's the thing. And Tyron has one-punch knockout power. Burns has power, too. It's going to be a crazy fight. That's one you got to tune into. But anyway, there's other fights that were added to that card. It's not the best fights of all time. It's not the best fight night card of all time by any means, but we got Hannah Cifers versus Mackenzie Dern. That's a women's flyweight fight. Dern has been around a long time. That should be a good fight. Then you got Roosevelt Roberts, who's a good up-and-comer. He's fun to watch, versus Brock Weaver. That's a lightweight bout. And you got Tim Elliott. He's ranked 11th in the flyweight division, taking on Brandon Royval. And then you got another female fight, Caitlin Chukagian, who's ranked 2nd in her division, versus Antonina Shevchenko, who's Valentina Shevchenko's sister. We'll see if she's in attendance, Valentina. But that's a good card. It's coming up on May 30th. We'll see if they add more fights to that. I wouldn't be surprised at how quickly they're moving. Can you really doubt Dana White anymore at this point? UFC is the first sport to return. Returns with UFC 249. It's a uber success. Incredibly successful. Incredible title fight. Then they have a fight card a few days later on Wednesday. Goes smoothly again. Good fights. And then again the following Saturday, last Saturday, they have another card with good fights. Shitty judging, but good fights. And here they come again. And guys, May 30th, they're coming back. June 6th is the pay-per-view, and then they plan to go regular schedule from there on out. June 13th, June 20th. They're getting fights ready. They're scheduling fights for July. It's happening. The May 30th card's happening in Vegas at the UFC Apex. That's their own arena in Vegas. It's not going to be in Jacksonville like the previous 3 cards. They're going to Vegas. Soon there'll be Fight Island. It's happening. A lot of exciting stuff in the UFC. Dana White deserves some praise for what he's done. A lot of people told him that he couldn't. And he said that. And he's proved all of them wrong. He's done a great job. There's nothing else. There's really not many negatives that you can say about the job that Dana White and the UFC has done since the COVID pandemic. First sport back, and they're rolling. They are rolling. They figured it out. Now let's get to UFC 250. Last week I said it was probably the worst pay-per-view card of all time. Definitely top 3. They've added fights. It's no longer one of the worst. It isn't. There's good fights on this card now. It's worth buying. And again, I would not be surprised to see Dana White and the matchmakers add a couple more fights to this card. Really wouldn't. He still got a couple weeks, and Dana White has proved that he moves fast under these circumstances. So, main event, UFC 250 is Amanda Nunes versus Felicia Spencer. Greatest woman fighter of all time, Amanda Nunes, versus their next challenger, Felicia. This is at featherweight, women's featherweight. This is a tough test for Amanda. Felicia Spencer's no joke. She went toe-to-toe with Chris Cyborg. Went the distance with her. Took shots from her. Took some heavy punches from Cyborg, who we know is very powerful. But then we saw Amanda Nunes take Cyborg out in the first round. Amanda's just something different. Amanda Nunes is on a whole nother level. Don't bet against her in UFC 250. The co-main event. This is a very interesting one, not only because of the fight, but because the implications, the effects that this fight being made will have on the rest of the division. Aljamain Sterling versus Corey Sandhagen. Aljamain's the second-ranked bantamweight in the world. Corey's the fourth. For the past couple weeks, especially since Henry Cejudo's quote-unquote retirement, he's coming back, by the way. Aljamain has been very active on Twitter, social media, campaigning for his title shot. He clearly wanted to fight for the vacant belt against Peter Yan. And he's not. This fight against Sandhagen is not for the bantamweight belt. It's certainly a top contender fight in the division, and it's a great fight. But Sterling will have to earn another victory if he wants a title shot. That's a great fight. Just the way their styles, these two are going to clash in the middle. Corey Sandhagen is such an entertaining fighter. If you haven't seen his fights, I suggest UFC 250 is the first time you tune in and watch. This will no doubt be his toughest test against Aljamain. Aljamain Sterling's a great fighter. Very good footwork, very good just head movement, misdirection. He's good all around. Also an entertaining fighter. I can't wait for this fight. This will be my fight of the night pick right here. Co-main event as it stands now. And we got another good bantamweight fight that's been added to UFC 250. Rafael Assunção versus Cody Garbrandt, former bantamweight champ. Cody's taken some licks the past few fights, though. It's made him reconsider staying at bantamweight. He threw the idea out there that he was going to move down to flyweight, quote-unquote, save the division. But he's not going to do that now because he's fighting Assunção at bantamweight. Assunção is ranked 7th. Cody's right now, he's ranked 8th. Big slide from when he used to be champ, but you can't deny the talent. You can't deny the talent of Garbrandt. He's still got championship talent. He's got to get it together between the ears when he's in the cage. That's all it is. He can't be getting into firefights like he did with Pedro Munoz. Clearly, it just isn't the best way for him to win. He's got to have a different game plan. Otherwise, it's going to be the same thing over against Assunção. So we'll see. Can't wait for that fight. Another great fight that I can't wait for that got added. The Sugar Show's back. Sean O'Malley, one of my favorite fighters up and coming. How can you not like Sean O'Malley? Awesome guy. Such a talent at bantamweight. He's lanky. He's good all around. Great personality. He's fighting a veteran, though. It's no doubt his toughest test of his UFC career, of his whole mixed martial arts career. He's fighting Eddie Wineland. Now, Eddie's a veteran. He has... God, I think he's got over 30 fights in the UFC. He has fought guys like Renan Barão, lost to him. Uriah Faber, he lost to. In the past, he's lost to the best opponents that he's faced. But there's no doubt we'll see. It's going to be a great tell to see just how good Sean O'Malley is, though. Because Eddie Wineland is no joke. He's been around. He's been in there with some of the best. Now we're going to see if Sean O'Malley has what it takes to be one of the best. He talks a big game. I believe him. I think he is going to be a contender in that division very quickly. I think against Eddie Wineland on June 6th is going to be the first big step in that direction. I don't know if he'll get a ranking next to his name. He might. I doubt it. That division, he might need one more win after that, but it is no doubt the biggest step of his career. And I cannot wait to watch that. So UFC Fight Night, May 30th, UFC 250, June 6th. They added to him. Gotta tune in now. I was gonna tune in anyway. There's nothing else to watch, but no doubt Dana White and the matchmakers improved these cards what seemed like overnight. And you just gotta give it to them. You really do. Now, I brought it up earlier briefly. Henry Cejudo's retirement. He's coming back. We're going to see Henry Cejudo, Triple C, in the octagon again. Don't worry. Or maybe worry if you didn't want to see him again, because I know he's cringy. It's very, very cringy, the acts he does, but can't deny his greatness. Cannot deny his greatness. He's going to be back. His agent, Ali, I'm not going to try and say his last name, Ali, the bald guy, he tweeted that you can expect to see Triple C back before fall. I think it's going to be against Peter Yan for the bantamweight belt. I think that's what it's going to be. That's going to be a great fight. That's a tougher test, I think, than even Dominic Cruz. Maybe Dominic Cruz, not in his prime, but Dominic Cruz coming back after that layoff and the injuries, I think Peter Yan is a tougher test. But regardless, Henry Cejudo wants more money. Jon Jones wants more money to fight Ngannou. He's threatened retirement. The past 24, 36 hours, he's threatened retirement if he doesn't get more money. What's with that? Is now the best time to negotiate contracts? To demand more money is now the best time? When the UFC is losing half its gate, half its profit from no attendance, no fans? They're not getting a live gate. That's half their purse. Do you think now is going to be the best time? Do you think now is going to be the time that Dana White gives you a pay raise? Good luck. Good luck with that. He hasn't budged yet. I don't expect him to. Pretty dumb to negotiate a raise right now, to demand a raise. I don't get it. But Henry Cejudo, Jon Jones, they'll be in the UFC. They'll be fighting again before the end of the year. Some of it's a smoke screen. They're not going to fight. Now, I want to talk about a great fight that is rumored to be in the works that I haven't seen anybody talking about. The fight is Volkan Oezdemir versus Jiri Prochazka. Many people, most people, I'm sure, have not heard of Prochazka. was the light heavyweight champ in Ryzen, which is a prominent MMA organization. Light heavyweight champ. He is 27 years old, in his prime. Pro MMA record 26-3-1. 10-fight win streak. He's from the Czech Republic, and he is going to be fighting for the UFC light heavyweight belt sooner than later. Not that many people know who this guy is. He's 6'4", 205, long, one-punch knockout power. He hunts for finishes if you watch his fights. He is going for the finish. He wants to take your head off, and he will. This guy is no joke. And being given Volkan Ozdemir as your first UFC fight and your UFC debut is a testament to him being no joke. Because Ozdemir is no joke. I don't know if you guys remember, Ozdemir fought Dominic Reyes not too long ago. Maybe a year ago. And I and a lot of people had Ozdemir beating Reyes in that decision. Which really would have changed the course of everything in the light heavyweight division. No more undefeated Dominic Reyes. Ozdemir is a good striker. So is Prochazka. Whenever this fight gets announced, make sure you guys watch, because you're going to want to see all of Prochazka's fights as he makes his way up to contendership. It's not going to take long. He can beat Ozdemir for sure. Go watch him fight CB Dalloway on YouTube. See what he did to him. Former UFC fighter. Jiri Prochazka is going to be a problem for everybody in that division. Similar to Dominic Reyes. Really is. Athletic, strong, big, long. Knockout power. Watch out for this guy. Now, UFC has a lot of exciting stuff going on. We got UFC Fight Night on May 30th, Woodley vs. Burns. Make sure you tune in. And then UFC 250. Coming up on June 6th, Nunes vs. Spencer. With a lot other good fights that have been added to that card. As for Ear to the Canvas, we got a lot of exciting things coming up. We have an interview coming up next Thursday. Gonna have a guest on. He is the #1 amateur welterweight in New Jersey. You'll hear more about him next week. We'll also have another episode coming out early next week. A lot of other stuff to get into. Now let me leave you guys with this. Betting odds came out. Francis Ngannou is the favorite right now over Jon Jones, if they were to fight at heavyweight. Favored over the GOAT. Should he be? We'll get into that a little more on Tuesday, along with a bunch of other things, exciting things coming up. Make sure you tune in, find us on YouTube. Make sure to check out backsportspage.com. It's a great website. You can get all your sports content there. Make sure to check out the MMA page. And as for me, Ryan Truland, Ear to the Canvas, Episode 2, we are out. See you guys next week.